Immunity is the state of having sufficient biological defenses to avoid infection, disease, or other unwanted biological invasion. It is the capability of the body to resist harmful microorganisms or viruses from entering it. Immunity involves both specific and non-specific components. The non-specific components act either as barriers or as eliminators of wide range of pathogens irrespective of antigenic specificity. Other components of the immune system adapt themselves to each new disease encountered and are able to generate pathogenic specific immunity. In this presentation, all the aspects of immunity and immunization are discussed. Innate immunity or non-specific immunity is the natural resistances with which a person is born. It provides resistances through several physical, chemical, and cellular approaches. Microbes first encountered the epithelial layers, physical barriers that line skin and mucous membranes. Subsequent general defenses include secreted chemical signals, antimicrobial substances, fever, and phagocytic activity associated with the inflammatory responses. Adaptive immunity is often subdivided into two major types depending on how the immunity was introduced. Naturally acquired immunity occurs through contact with a disease-causing agent when the contact was not deliberate, whereas artificially acquired immunity develops only through deliberate actions such as vaccination. Both naturally and artificially acquired immunity can be further subdivided depending on whether immunity is induced in the host or passively transferred from an immune host. Passive immunity is acquired through transfer of antibodies or activated T cells from an immune host and is short-lived, usually lasting only a few months, whereas active immunity is induced in the host itself by antigen and lasts much longer, sometimes lifelong. A further subdivision of adaptive immunity is characterized by the cells involved. Humoral immunity is the aspect of immunity that is mediated by secreted antibodies, whereas the protection provided by cell-mediated immunity involves T lymphocytes alone. Humoral immunity is active when the organism generates its own antibodies and passive when antibodies are transferred between individuals. Similarly, cell-mediated immunity is active when the organism's own T cells are stimulated and passive when T cells come from another organism. Subsequent general defenses include secreted chemical signals, antimicrobial substances, fever, and phagocytic activity associated with the inflammatory responses. Adaptive immunity is often subdivided into two major types depending on how the immunity was introduced. Naturally acquired immunity occurs through contact with a disease-causing agent when the contact was not deliberate, whereas artificially acquired immunity develops only through deliberate actions such as vaccination. Both naturally and artificially acquired immunity can be further subdivided depending on whether immunity is induced in the host or passively transferred from an immune host. Passive immunity is acquired through transfer of antibodies or activated T cells from an immune host and is short-lived, usually lasting only a few months, whereas active immunity is induced in the host itself by antigen and lasts much longer, sometimes lifelong. A further subdivision of adaptive immunity is characterized by the cells involved. Humoral immunity is the aspect of immunity that is mediated by secreted antibodies, whereas the protection provided by cell-mediated immunity involves T lymphocytes alone. Humoral immunity is active when the organism generates its own antibodies, and passive when antibodies are transferred between individuals. Similarly, cell-mediated immunity is active when the organism's own T cells are stimulated and passive when T cells come from another organism. So what is an immune response? When an antigen is introduced into the human body, it stimulates the production of antibodies. Microorganisms and vaccines are antigens which evoke an immune response. Immune response is of two types. The primary response. When an antigen is introduced into the body for the first time, there is a latent period of 3 to 10 days before antibodies appear in the blood. A peak is quickly reached and the level of antibodies gradually falls over a period of weeks or months. Next is the second response, or the booster response. The response to a booster dose of the same antigen differs in a number of ways from the primary response. It has a shorter latent period and more rapid production of antibodies is there. Antibodies are produced in abundance and a high level is maintained for a longer period. The antibodies produced tend to have a greater capacity to bind to the antigens. The accelerated response is attributed to the immunological memory. Having studied about immune response, now let's take a brief look at the immune system. The immune system is a system of biological structures and processes within an organism that protects against disease. To function properly, an immune system must detect a wide variety of agents known as pathogens, from viruses to parasitic worms, and distinguish them from the organism's own health tissue. In many species, the immune system can be classified into two subsystems, such as the innate immune system versus the adaptive immune system, or humoral immunity versus cell-mediated immunity. First, let's study about humoral immunity. This type of immunity is due to circulating antibodies. Globins, also called immunoglobins. It is a major defense against bacterial infections. On stimulation, that is by any kind of infectious agent or an injury, B lymphocytes divide and its daughter cells are transformed into plasma cells. They later secrete the antibodies into the circulation. The types of immunoglobins are IgG. Most antibodies to infection belong to this class. It is widely distributed in the tissue, fluids, and are equally available in the intra and extravascular spaces. It can cross the placenta and so it provides passive immunity to the newborn. Next is IgM. This is the first type produced by the maturing fetus, and it is the main type responsible for the primary immune response. It is mainly intravascular, but it does not cross the placenta. IgA, found in high concentration in the external secretions, colostrum, saliva, tears, and intestinal and bronchial secretions. Because of this, IgA is part of the first line of defense against infectious agents. Then is IgE. It is present very low in serum and tissue fluids. It has a particular affinity to fixed to tissues, and so it is able to sensitize mast cells so that upon contact with antigens, the biologically active material present in mast cells is released. Because of this, it is called a reagent. And lastly, the IgD. Antibody activity has rarely been demonstrated in this type of immunoglobulin, and the biological function is uncertain. Another way of establishing host resistance is through T lymphocytes. These cells synthesize and release pharmacologically active substances, lymphokines, which can kill cells carrying foreign antigens. T lymphocytes also act against the invader by stimulation of macrophages. This activity of the immune system is known as cell-mediated immunity. The peak of activity occurs around the 10th day. Re-challenge by a subsequent infection evokes a secondary response more rapid and of greater intensity. This type of immunity is responsible for intracellular infection due to viruses and some bacteria, example tubercle bacilli and fungal infection. Besides infection, cellular immunity is responsible for delayed hypersensitivity reactions, lysis of tumor cells, and rejection of tissue or organ transplants. All vertebrates possess in their serum certain proteins and other factors which participate in the immune response. Complements facilitate the antigen-antibody reactions. Now let's take a look at vaccination and immunization. These terms are often used interchangeably. Vaccination and vaccine derive from vaccinia, the virus once called as smallpox vaccine. Thus, vaccination originally meant inoculation with vaccinia virus to render a person immune to smallpox. Although some persons still prefer that vaccination be restricted to this use, most use it to denote the administration of any kind of vaccine or toxoid. Immunization is more inclusive term denoting the process of inducing or providing immunity artificially. Immunization can be active or passive. Infectious diseases can be prevented by stimulating the individual to develop an active immunologic defense in preparation for meeting the challenge of future natural exposure, or by supplying preformed human or animal antibody to individuals already exposed or about to be exposed to certain infectious agents, also known as passive immunization. Active immunization involves administration of all or part of a microorganism or a modified product of that microorganism, example toxoid, to evoke an immunologic response that provides partial or complete protection to the recipient. Vaccines incorporating an intact agent may be either live or killed. Several factors influence recommendations concerning the age at which vaccines are administered. There are age-specific risks of diseases, there are age-specific risks of complications, ability of a persons of a given age to respond to the vaccine, potential interference with the immune response by maternal antibodies. Modification of the recommended schedule may be necessary because of a missed appointment or intercurrent illness. Interruption of a recommended series does not require starting the series over again and adding extra doses regardless of the interval elapsed. If a dose of DPT or OPV is missed, immunization should occur on the next visit as if the usual interval had elapsed. In contrast, giving doses of a vaccine or toxoid at less than recommended intervals may lessen the antibody response and therefore should be avoided. Doses given at less than recommended intervals should not be counted as part of a primary series. Some vaccines produce local or systematic symptoms in certain recipients when given too frequently. Example, diphtheria. Such reactions are thought to result from the formation of antigen-antibody complexes. TD stands for adult tetanus toxoid or diphtheria toxoid for adult use. DT stands for diphtheria and tetanus toxoids for use in children aged less than 7 years old. It might also happen that certain vaccines might result in a failure. Failure of a vaccine to protect an individual child may be due to a number of reasons. The vaccine may no longer be antigenic so that it does not stimulate the body to produce antibodies. With live vaccines, which can occur if the vaccine is no longer alive, most vaccines are killed easily by changes of temperature, such as might occur if they are left out of the refrigerator for a longer time. Vaccines must be kept constantly cold throughout the chain of storage and transport, which they have to pass through before reaching the child. Breaks in this cold chain, as it has come to be called, may be due to a batch of vaccine delivery to the Ministry of Health depot or to a hospital or health care. It can happen as a result of the breakdown of the refrigerating system. Great care must be taken to try to avoid this happening, and it is always better to have a refrigerator which can run on two different sources of power. Live vaccines are also damaged by sunlight, which is especially likely to happen after they have been prepared for injection in the clinic or at the school. Vaccines should always be kept in the shade They can also be affected by detergents or antiseptics in the syringes, which have not been properly cleaned or rinsed. Even in the best circumstances, vaccines eventually lose their power, and it is very important to look at the date of expiry on the container. The chances of such expired vaccines will fail to protect increase the longer the interval after the expiry date. Live vaccines for injection should be used on the same day that they are reconstituted for injection, that is, after the water has been added. Oral poliomyelitis vaccine can be used after opening until the vial is all used up, so long as it is returned to the refrigerator after cleaning and kept in the shade. Hope this presentation was successful in explaining all the aspects of immunity and immunization. In the next presentation, we will discuss about immunizable diseases and their prevention. Thank you.